All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're doing a rapid-fire 4-minute sprint through the July 2026 AI landscape, and we're focusing on one absolutely crucial theme: how established industry moats, those massive, seemingly unbeatable advantages, are literally crumbling right before our eyes. So, you gotta ask yourself, who really controls the future of AI when the old rules just don't apply anymore? July 2026 is turning out to be this crazy watershed moment. We're seeing traditional advantages, like massive distribution networks, endless compute power, and tightly closed ecosystems, all getting disrupted at the exact same time. It's wild. Okay, let's jump straight into part one. Google's moat is breached. The EU targets Android and search. The European Commission's new Digital Markets Act has essentially put a hard countdown on Google. By January 2027, they have to start sharing anonymized search data. And then, by July, Android interoperability has to open up to rival assistants. So Google's two biggest structural advantages, 2 decades of search data and billions of default mobile placements, are officially on the clock. And Wall Street definitely noticed, right? Alphabet shares tumbled roughly 4% almost immediately. Analyst Aaron Rose made a great point about this. These regulatory hits are landing during a super tough month for Google, right alongside the delays for Gemini 3.5 Pro. The real tell here is going to be watching who actually applies for Android certification first. That list will show us who the true competitors for mobile AI at scale really are. Moving right along to part two, Oracle's massive infrastructure bet, financing the $500 billion Stargate. To fund the physical reality of this AI arms race, there's a huge human cost. Oracle is dramatically restructuring right now just to free up $8 to $10 billion in annual cash flow. And sadly, that means 30,000 jobs, which is 18% of their entire workforce, are being cut across their health, cloud, and consulting divisions. But you have to contrast those painful job cuts with this absolutely staggering figure: a $300 billion 5-year cloud contract with OpenAI and SoftBank. This right here is the anchor of the Stargate initiative. It's designed to cover 4.5 gigawatts of Oracle-built data center capacity. To put that into perspective, that is enough power to run a major city. Analyst Aaron Rose bluntly hit the nail on the head, saying 30,000 people paid for Oracle's bet on Stargate. Oracle is now incredibly leveraged on OpenAI's upcoming September IPO and their revenue durability. If OpenAI's massive growth actually materializes, it's a total masterstroke. But if it doesn't, Oracle is going to be left with a severely depleted workforce and one monumental bill to pay. All right, part 3, the AI security race, project perception, and the ecosystem moat. We're seeing ecosystems rapidly shift towards software defense and orchestration. Microsoft is leaning heavily into its enterprise distribution with Project Perception, which is this new platform that actively scans and routes tasks to fix vulnerabilities. But they're facing stiff competition from Anthropic's security-focused reasoning and OpenAI's sheer speed. What's really fascinating here is that they're all kind of converging on the exact same architecture, using cheap models for rapid triage and bringing in the expensive, heavy-hitting models only for complex reasoning. Let's move to part 4, the open weight countdown, global power dynamics shift. Over at the Wake conference in Shanghai, the global stage radically altered. We had Huawei claiming their new Atlas 950 outperforms NVIDIA's NVL 144 by 6.7 times. Geopolitically, the contrast is just staggering. While Google DeepMind's Demis Hassabis is calling for a US-led AI watchdog operating on a voluntary standards framework due in August, China went ahead and concretely established Waco, a 29-nation AI institution. It's this incredibly stark contrast between an intention on one side and an actual institution on the other. Meanwhile, imminent open-weight model releases are dropping right before that U.S. regulatory deadline. DeepSeek V4 and Kimi K3, with its massive 2.8 trillion parameters, are putting incredibly high-performing coding and reasoning models directly into literally anyone's hands. This is a direct threat to the price and power of the closed model labs. Okay, rounding the corner into part 5. Quick hits, a rapid-fire look at the rust of today's AI world. So OpenAI is fighting off an Apple trade secret lawsuit that actually names staff, plus a New York Times sanctions motion, all ahead of their September IPO. Sensing a bit of blood in the water, Anthropic is aggressively expanding its enterprise footprint with Project Glasswing across 150 organizations, and they're prepping their own IPO under the ticker ANTH.
And just look at the mind-boggling scale of compute investments right now. Meta is targeting 14 gigawatts of compute by 2027. Again, that is the power output of multiple nuclear power plants. But this massive ambition is colliding head-on with reality, as SK Group is warning of severe hardware bottlenecks and high-bandwidth memory shortages deep into 2027.
On the strategy front, companies are just rushing integrations out the door. Google is strapping secure cloud computing onto Gemini Notebook despite their underlying model delays, while SAP is committing €1 billion to Prior Labs to completely lock down European structured data. Oh, and a $20 billion Cohere and Aleph Alpha merger, still under regulatory review.
We're also seeing some pretty messy operational gaps on the ground. Ironically, Hugging Face's own security team had to bypass commercial APIs because standard safety guardrails actually blocked their vulnerability analysis. You literally couldn't test the models because the models stopped you. Add to that some highly confident but totally incorrect hallucinations in AI radiology, completely failing text detectors for scientific writing, and Apple officially partnering with Alibaba's QN in China. The friction out there is very real.
Well, we really packed an incredible amount into this 4-minute sprint. As the old, reliable advantages of distribution and compute crumble, this landscape is violently shifting. So the big takeaway today? How will your organization adapt its strategy to survive? Because right now, the old rules simply do not apply anymore. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep adapting, and I'll see you next time.